Hello everyone, and welcome to this session, Leading and Exceeding Your Supplier Experience Relationship Using AI. More than happy to be with you here today to talk about how can we use artificial intelligence and new technology to improve and work better on your relationship with your suppliers. Before we start and talk about that, let me present myself. My name is Amen Regimi. I'm the Vice President of Product Management at Jagger. I have been working for the company for almost 9 years today, actually in product management with a big focus on the innovation. And my main role is to make our product more intuitive and more intelligent. Feel free to connect with me. You have my QR code, and I will keep my information later. But also, if you have any questions, comment, feedback, don't hesitate to put it in the chat. We will do our best to answer as much as we can, all your questions right now or later. And before starting and talking about technology, I wanted first to share with you what is modern supplier management. This is important as we talk about supplier management. It's one of the things that we see is that supplier management is not supplier data management. It's really something bigger, much bigger than that. So when I say that, it means when you handle your supplier data, it should not be only getting the certification or the onboarding of your suppliers. It goes beyond that, making sure that you have the right scorecard, that you are evaluating the risk of your supplier, that you are checking how you can build your supplier strategy, is it working fine, etc., and doing a continuous monitoring for that. That's why it's important to clarify that supplier management goes to what we call actually supplier value management. Is how can you get value from that? How can you work with your suppliers as partners to generate more revenue for your company, to generate growth, and making sure that they are embedded in your procurement strategy. And one of the things that when I asked my colleague Georg, who is leading the supplier management inside Jagger, and I tell him, what's supplier management? He answered me last time saying that when I think about supplier management, the picture that comes to my mind is orchestration. And in fact, if you think about it, a supplier manager job can be compared to someone who is creating the whole orchestration, as you can see in this picture. And there are multiple similarities between that. So as a supplier manager, you need to find the best players in the field and validate them. So you need to find them and make sure that you can check and validate what they do. But also, it's not finding those suppliers and that's all. That's the beginning of the story. Then you need to ensure the continuity by assessing their risk, their performance, and making sure that those suppliers are doing well in a continuous way. And then how can you drive better behavior? How can you have internal workflow that can help you to ensure that everyone in your organization is following the right process, as well as your suppliers? And one of the best things that Georg is talking about is that the goal is of an orchestra band is to delight the audience with an impeccable service. And this is where I wanted to also put some focus today is if you would like to be successful and make this relationship successful and delight your suppliers too, it's important that you can have some time to focus on what is strategic and have time to not only think about to not only think about those mundane, checking the supplier documentation and so on, but all the repetitive tasks, all the mundane can be automated, and then you can focus on what is strategic for you and what is important. So this is, before going to the technology part, I wanted to make sure that I share with you what's our understanding about supplier management and what is it. Now, how technology impacts the supplier relationships. When you see what we talk about, you will see that there are a lot of buzzwords today in the market. But one of the biggest buzzwords that we hear a lot about it is algorithms and AI. Those two comes a lot. And this takes us to think about all the real-time information that we can have, all the personalized experience that are made possible today by data, with algorithms and machine learning, which means that those new technology are not transforming the business and how you do business, but we see it in every day. I mean, using your phones, as a consumer, we use that. And where I wanted to come here is we are not using AI because it is just cool. No, AI is no longer just cool. It is really a technology that can deliver tangible and measurable value for everyone, but also for procurement and supplier managers. And we need to think about it. How should we think about it? We should thinking about it that by making smart investments in your organization, and how can you, in the procurement department, if you are managing a supplier manager or a category manager or you are a CPO, how can you stay ahead of your competition? How can you be able to break through the hype and identify AI solution that aligns with the high priority supplier management use cases? And that's why it's important to not say, I would like to apply AI to my business. Now, let's think about the use cases. Let's think about the value. Let's think about how can you measure that and then make that available in your system, so that you use that technology where you can enhance your supplier experience, improve their loyalty, and get really tangible value. So this is said, one of the questions is now, what's AI? What's artificial intelligence? So when you think about what's AI or what's artificial intelligence, we read a lot of things. This is, for example, how Gartner is talking about AI a few years ago. But where I see it is that procurement is making increasing use of a broad range of technology that many of them will fall under the umbrella of artificial intelligence. But the term is not always used correctly. So how should we define it? Essentially, where I think about it is that AI, let's make it simple. It's the capacity of a machine or a computer to perform some operations that are analogous to learning and decision-making in humans. Think about it that AI can enable machines to learn from experience, adjust to new input, and perform any kind of tasks that conventional computer-based software cannot do, which means basically the automation of all the repetitive tasks, but not only doing the automation, but learning from them. And this will take us to another question before going to the use cases is, what is not AI? And this is important. And here I tried to collect 5 big items that says, what is not AI? One of the first thing is the myth or the misconception that we hear a lot about it, that at the end of the day, when we talk about AI, it's just an algorithm, nothing new here. However, what I wanted to highlight is that in algorithms would use an input, or would use some mathematical logic, take an input and deliver a result, and that's done. However, in artificial intelligence algorithms would take a combination of both inputs and outputs, and that's how it can learn. So there is a constant feedback loop that will make that algorithm smarter and smarter. So not only an input, but without the input, we will add that output, we'll add the feedback loop to make it smarter. AI learns from itself. Honestly, AI is not magic. It cannot get better and better by itself. Generally speaking, machine learning systems have been trained on historical data. And what does it mean? It means and that's how we do it even at Jagger today. We'll take the algorithm, we will show it many past examples, and create a general understanding from them. And that's how it will learn. So there is always a lot of training, and that's why we call it also machine learning, a lot of learning and training behind the scenes. Then you need a lot of data for AI. One of the things, there was a Gartner conference last June about data and analytics, and we see that now there is a lot of talking about small and wide data and not a lot of talking around big data. Why? It's true that more data will give you better performance, but beyond a certain point, the performance gains are marginal, which means most of the AI applications are provided with pre-trained information that generally coming from anonymized data from existing customers. And you need just to think about what data to have clean, relevant, and enough data. Not a lot of data, but enough data. And then AI and machine learning are not the same thing. Machine learning is a subset of AI. And I hear this conclusion always, especially when we talk about technology and procurement, AI takes away the need for humans to think. What I want to say that the use of AI and machine learning is really to augment the users, to augment the procurement personnel, and to free them from time to think on what is strategic. So you don't need to spend time on cleaning the supplier data. You don't need to spend time on going and checking if the supplier certification is right or not. You don't need to go and do all of that. All these tasks that are done generally with less value can be delegated to the AI system or to the technology. And then as a supplier, you can focus on what is strategic and managing the relationship as a human. This is what we as a human do the best, is relationship and communication. So this is said, when you start trying to think about how to use AI in your supplier relationship, it's important to think where you are in your journey. Are you here to transform that relationship, or are you here to optimize it? In other words, when you become a more digital department or in procurement with a clear focus on the scope and ambition of your digital journey here, it's important to start by improving your existing business model. Or if it has been already done, then your ambition may be to go further and create maybe new products, new services, new business models with your supplier. And this is a difficult question to answer, by the way, but one that executive and the digital leaders and the procurement leaders today must answer as early as possible, and you should revisit it frequently. And why I'm talking about this, because to prepare your organization, this is an important topic, which means, am I using a first generation of tools? I have already digitized all my items. So here what I need to focus on risk management. I need to go focus on the supplier discovery, or my big focus is on supplier sustainability. How can I develop the strategy, have innovation and more opportunities? So where AI is used in supplier relationship management, where we see it and where we see most of these use cases are today on the computer vision, which maybe you heard about OCR. So how can I get the supplier certification, check them? How can I help the suppliers to import data and documents into the application? How can I let the technology communicate in the same language as the supplier instead of him learning to communicate in the language of that platform? And then it's used a lot in the process augmentation, the decision augmentation, and the automation as usual. So when I say this, let's take some use cases, concrete use cases. So here are some use cases on what we have. Most of the use cases that we try to summarize here will start on where you are having the relationship with the supplier. First, for example, we talk about sourcing. Of course, if you are working with your suppliers, you need to have sourcing events, you'll have your contracts, you need to discover new suppliers, etc. And here there are a lot of use cases where autonomous procurement and autonomous sourcing can help you and help your suppliers in doing better business. Then we talk a lot about contract risk analysis. So when you are evaluating whether to have a contract with a supplier, or you have already a contract and you would like to have a new clause, or you would like to review that, one of the things that we work on is how can we have the system go and recognize new or missing clauses and evaluate the risk level from a legal perspective. So instead of you and the supplier, you will spend a lot of time between the different legal teams on identifying that. The system can help you to save a lot of time and a lot of money and focus on the highest value for you. Then there is a big talk around data, AI, and analytics, and this is where here we talk about analytics. So when I say augmented analytics, one of the most common application of AI is by using it to augment the data, specifically in creating predictive and prescriptive analytics. So when I say predictive analytics, this is one of more common of the two between predictive and prescriptive today. So this is based on analyzing the historical performance data and other external data points so that you can develop prediction on what is likely to come. Let's take an example. Here we have built at Jagger a solution called an on-time delivery predictor for suppliers. So this solution is able to predict if a shipment will arrive on time or not from a supplier, of course, before you even place the order. And this is an incredibly useful application that can drastically cut down on late shipment cost. And as you know, late shipment cost, what it can do, late shipment, it can cause further supply chain disruptions and bottleneck. So by having a solution like this with a clear use case of AI that can help you to predict the delivery, you can anticipate that. Then the prescriptive analytics is more here to give you a recommendation, generate insights, and just tell you what can happen and what cannot happen. Quite useful in the case, you remember what happened in the case of the Suez Canal blockage? That caused billions of dollars worth of shipments to be late, not to mention the logistics nightmare that ensued that. And this is where AI could have helped to avoid that, or could provide the recommendation on how to avoid that. What's the best way? Who are the substitute suppliers that you have? What's the risk based on that? So it may not have helped to prevent that, because that event happened, but it would help you to take faster decision and better know what you should do. Then we talk a lot about supplier risk management and the supplier discovery. So the supplier discovery will help you to find new suppliers in an easier way and a better way. And then in risk management, this is one of the biggest items today. And risks are changing all the time. So it's difficult to really base the risk management on historical data alone. What AI can do here, it can monitor the risk positions in real time based on multiple factors and adjust that risk accordingly and inform you as a supplier, manager, or buyer. So it can really identify potential disruptions, anticipate production delays. And an example is an algorithm that will analyze all the historical supplier performance data on delivery, quality, and financial health, augment that with other external real-time data, and can tell you which location, which supplier, which firm has the highest risk of future problems, for example. We can also talk a lot about fraud detection, and this is where AI is a game changer here in detecting fraudulent invoices and preventing procurement fraud and other form of economic crimes. So here, algorithms and AI, the intelligent algorithms will identify anomalies that have not arisen in the past, and it will really reduce the number of false position there and of false positives, as we call them. So these are some of the main use cases that we see today in the supplier relationship, how AI can help you to improve your supplier relationship. You can see there is a wider range of use cases, but where I wanted to highlight and emphasize that let's not think that AI will solve all the problems, but by starting on having a good use case, focus on that use case, making sure that you have enough data, that you have clean data, that you have relevant data so you can use it. And at the end of the day, as Maurice is saying in the chat, let's call it as more augmented intelligence rather than artificial intelligence. I totally agree with you, Maurice, here, because that's the goal at the end of the day of AI. What we want to augment people, let them take better decisions, and this is not here to substitute them. So if you have not started your journey here, where I think we can start in terms of AI, it's important to make sure that there are 5 steps that to make sure that your organization is AI ready. So through AI in procurement, let me call it, is almost here. And there is a lot of promises here that may consider opportunities of advantages for your organization to leverage it. But it's important to make sure that you lay the groundwork for smart technologies. And the sooner it can start, thinking about the benefit, thinking about the use cases, the better it is. And that's why it's important to think about how can you collaborate with your teams, making sure you have champions inside your team and know what are the use cases and why you should use them. Then it's important to have to optimize your process, and you can define what's the risk tolerance of any automated processes. Then data is key. Again, data, there is the data privacy, there is the data security, but then making sure that you have, again, enough, relevant, and clean data. And at some point, there is also the cost. AI is not always the cheapest solution. So it's important that you can identify the costs, the benefits, and make sure that you can quantify that. And one of the biggest topic is change management. It's important to think that AI is not here to take the job. It's here to make sure that to augment you, to empower you, and make sure that you can do a better job. So how can you lead and exceed your supplier relationship using AI? If you think how we were working until now between procurement and the suppliers, there is a lot of things where we try to be reactive, operational, thinking about the price, thinking about the supplier management. It's more purchasing than others are where we want to be today and the future. We want the procurement organization to become more proactive. And it's important to think about the total value of ownership with your suppliers. It's not only a price. A buyer and a supplier relationship, it's not I buy and that's all. There is much more than that. That's why we want to talk more about a strategy that you can build with your suppliers. How can you involve them in terms of innovation? How can you work with them? So it's more a relationship rather than a purchase, and it's more a value management than procurement. This is where AI can help you. And why I'm saying AI can help you because there is a big item, which is time and value. AI can help you to save a lot of time, and it can see in the data what you cannot see. And at the end of the day, what you will be able to do, you will be able to generate more earnings, growth. And there is the biggest topic that I wanted to highlight, which is the corporate and social responsibility. This is important to think about that. So not only thinking about the value, but it's important that now we see that procurement must play a leading role in advancing those items from the environmental, social, and governance agenda. And we in procurement must have a powerful impact on all the three of these elements. So to sum up what I was trying to say here, it's important to redefine how value is measured, as now hopefully you will have more time to think about that. So how can you have a growth-enabled KPI? How can you increase the spend management that you are managing here with transparency, fair play, and improvement in the quality of the total cost? And how can you use AI to do that? And AI is one of the items that, let me repeat this, that can be used to reduce the carbon emissions. Yes, we have many customers today, and Georg kind of said that can use the technology to deliver the sustainability that they want to have, or the social and government and environmental agenda. So how can we reduce the carbon emission? How can we increase the social inclusion? How can we do some enablement of the disadvantaged suppliers through direct and indirect action? All of these items, we should think about it, and it's important to think that when you automate as much as possible of those mundane and low-value tasks, you will have more time to focus on what's valuable for your organization, but also for Earth. So this is said to finish this. AI, data, and analytics is the most important thing right now in terms of technology. We hear this a lot in every RFP, even at Jagger. We have the question, do you support this? Do you have this? And the technology is advancing right now. So it's important to make sure it's not only AI, it's also making sure that you have the right data and that you have the analytics solution that can help you to get the prediction and the prescription, which means the so what from the data. And then exceeding your supplier relationship using AI. And I would like to repeat this because this is an important topic. In addition to the growth, in addition to the earning, it can help you in advancing the environmental, social, and governance agenda. This is an important topic, and all of us should play a role also in focusing on that. So that's where I wanted to, what I wanted to present to you today. So thank you. I hope I was able to give you some insights on how AI can help you to exceed and lead your relationship with the suppliers. And also I wanted to thank my colleague Georg, who helped me and coached me a lot to make this presentation by providing all the insight around what's a modern supplier relationship and what's a modern supplier management solution. If you have any questions, put them in the chat or feel free to contact me. Thank you.